I was going to make this one of these stupid short videos, but I doubt very much I'm going to be able to make it in a whole minute. Probably going to be much longer than that, but I just want to talk a little bit today about my experiences with Xmonad. This is day 3 of using Xmonad basically full time. And I had bar problems, as I talked about in my last video, and those bar problems were me problems. I'm sure they were, but I just couldn't get them to work. So I scrapped my config. I downloaded DT's config, put that on there. I still couldn't get Xmobar to show up. So I'm obviously doing something wrong. So I figured maybe it was my install. Maybe I had some conflicting packages or something. So I distro hopped. And I went to Arch Linux. And that was borked from the beginning. Something went wrong there. Then I went back to Arco and installed the Xmonad version of Arco. So I knew Xmonad was going to work. So I decided I'd go from there and try to get Xmobar working from there, and it still wouldn't work. So I'm obviously doing something wrong when it comes to Xmobar, but right now I have Xmonad working on my computer with Polybar, and it's perfectly fine. And I have some thoughts. So first of all, Haskell's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I'd probably put it up there right with C in terms of difficulty of learning. I'm not saying I'm obviously not an expert yet, or maybe probably will ever be, but I understand it more now than I did before, and it took a similar learning path as C did in DWM. But it does have some quirks that are weird. So the people who developed Haskell seem to have hated parentheses and stuff. So they use parentheses and brackets and stuff just like any other normal language, but they also put things with like $signs and periods and other things that kind of take the place of brackets and parentheses, and it's you don't know. I can't seem to get my head around when to use those things, when not to use them, when to use parentheses, when to use brackets. So those are a little weird. There's also this weird like greater than and less than sign with a plus in the middle. I don't know what that means yet. I've seen it in a couple places, and I'm not sure when to use that and when not to use it. I was trying to add scratch pads earlier, and that documentation is just not good. For the most part, I found Xmonad's documentation to be, okay. I don't think it's as good as like i3's documentation or Qtile's documentation, but it's okay. But the stuff for the scratch pads is apparently completely wrong, because it says do this, do this, do this, and I did this and this and this, and it's just error after error. Like brackets in the wrong places and stuff like that. So I went and looked at another configuration of somebody else who I knew it worked, and theirs looks completely different than what the documentation says. So I don't know what's going on there. And the thing is, I've come so dependent on scratch pads in DWM, I've had a hard time going through and using Xmonad in the last couple days without them. But I'll get them working eventually, hopefully. The biggest problem I encountered today was actually when we recorded the Linux cast. For whatever reason, the way OBS captures video from Discord in Xmonad requires the window of Discord to be front and center in focus. And if it's not in focus, the OBS video freezes. And this hasn't happened in any other window manager or desktop environment. I don't know what Xmonad is doing differently than all the other ones, but this is the way it happened. So I ended up having to go through and install DWM and switch over to DWM in order to record the podcast. That was a pain in the ass. So I don't know what's going on there. That was definitely not a good experience. So needless to say, 3 days in, I'm lukewarm on Xmonad, to be honest. I've had fun, but I'm also at times incredibly frustrated over not really understanding what's going on. Like, I've delved into the documentation, and it's not the worst documentation, it's just not the greatest. Like, they have a tutorial that they just recently published on their GitHub, and it's okay, but it also skips around a lot. Like, whoever wrote it goes off on tangents trying to teach you some stuff about Haskell that maybe you don't even really need to know, but then it goes through and tries to go back to where it was supposed to be going, and it's just kind of all over the place. And I'm going to try to actually go through and follow that tutorial from beginning to end and just write that configuration file and see if that will help me get Xmobar to work, maybe scratch pads to work, because I'm obviously doing something wrong. So I don't think there's anything really wrong with Xmonad. I'm just having a me problem in terms of actually getting it to, you know, work properly. So I'm going to keep chugging along. Chances are I'm going to be alternating my use with DWM, because most of the time when I'm in Xmonad, I'm messing around with Xmonad, and that's preventing me from actually getting some work done. So now that I have DWM back installed on this computer, I'm just going to go ahead and use DWM when I need to actually do real work. So thank you for watching. Like I said, I told you I wasn't going to get this done in a whole minute, so not much of a video. Thanks to all of patrons, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.